Zenitsu is one of the worst written characters in Demon Slayer. Not the most annoying, though, yeah, he's that too. The worst written. There's a difference, and once you actually sit with how Gotuji built this dude across the whole series, you can't unsee it. Before you comment, I don't hate Zenitsu as a character. Or maybe I do. So let's get into it. 4 things. And by the end, even the people defending him right now are gonna have a hard time with at least 2 of these. First thing, Zenitsu doesn't develop. He just exists in one state for basically the whole story. Development means a character starts somewhere, something happens, they end up somewhere else, and you can actually point to what got them there. Tanjiro starts off this soft kid who just wants to save his sister, and slowly turns into someone who can make brutal calls in a fight. You can trace that, arc by arc. Although it's not the best example, I could also make a video about Tanjiro if you want. A really good example of character who really changed would be Violet Evergarden, Vladlena Milize, maybe Eren Yeager. So Zenitsu shows up crying and begging not to fight. And then for literally 2 seasons, Tsuzumi Mansion, Mount Natagumo, Rehabilitation Training, Entertainment District, he's still crying and begging not to fight. Same jokes, same panic, same running at every girl he sees, same guy doing the same bit for like 50 episodes straight. And look, comic relief is a real job in a story, nothing wrong with that. But comic relief and main cast screen time are 2 different jobs, and Zenitsu's out here getting main character screen time while doing the comic relief character's job. That's the mismatch, and it's honestly kinda cringe once you notice it. Compare that to literally anyone else. Inosuke starts as a feral animal who trusts nobody and slowly learns to work with people, say something close to a thank you, actually care what happens to Tanjiro and Zenitsu. Nezuko barely talks, and you still watch her fight her own instincts, scene by scene. Even Genya, a side character, gets more of an arc in way fewer chapters than Zenitsu gets in 50. So when people say Zenitsu grows so much by the end, I think they're just glazing him, cause growth that happens in 1 chapter after staying completely flat for 100 isn't growth. That's a switch flipping. Which brings me to the next thing. Second thing, the whole he's actually built when he's asleep reveal is a magic trick, not a character beat, a magic trick. When this gets revealed, Zenitsu passes out from fear mid-fight and suddenly he's doing thunder breathing with insane precision, drops a demon that should have ended him. It looks like a payoff, it's shot like one. Music swells, everyone's shook. Honestly, it's a great moment the first time, but a payoff needs a setup. What's the actual on-page setup here? We get told after the fact that his master Jigoro trained him harder than anyone cause he saw some hidden potential nobody else could see. Cool, except we never see any of that training. We don't see Jigoro figure it out. We don't see Zenitsu discover this about himself and actually sit with what it means. It's just true one day whenever the plot needs it to be true. That's the rabbit out of a hat problem. A magician doesn't show you the trick. They show you the result and hope the drama covers for it. But drama isn't the same as earned. Tanjiro's whole Hinokami Kagura thing gets built up across actual arcs with actual visible training. Zenitsu's power just exists, explained after the fact, whenever the story needs him to matter. Hidden power reveals are basically a genre trope at this point. I'll actually answer that in a sec, because it depends completely on what happens next with his character, which is the part that actually gets me. Third thing, and this is the big one. One letter completely rewrites who Zenitsu is as a person, and that's just not how people work, like at all. Quick context if you forgot the details. During Hashira training, right before Infinity Castle kicks off, Zenitsu's Sparrow Chontaro brings him a letter. It's from his old dojo, and it tells him his master Jigoro killed himself after finding out Kaigaku, Zenitsu's old senior, betrayed everyone and turned into a demon. Jigoro died alone, in pain, nobody there to finish it quick for him. That's genuinely one of the most brutal pieces of backstory in the whole series. I'm not clowning the content of the letter, it should hit hard, and it does. The problem is what happens to Zenitsu literally right after he reads it. Same chapter, he goes from the guy who's been crying and panicking for 100+ chapters to someone slicing through demons with 0 fear, talking in this flat, cold voice that barely sounds like him. He confronts Kaigaku later and he's not scared of him anymore. He's not even sad the way you'd expect grief to look. He's just stern, controlled, done. And I get why Gotuji did it dramatically. Grief and rage make for a good fight, sure. But as an actual account of how a person changes, it kind of falls apart the second you think about it for more than 5 seconds. Real personality change doesn't work like a light switch. Even huge trauma, the kind that actually reshapes someone, doesn't erase who they were underneath. It changes how they cope. It doesn't install a whole new personality overnight, fully formed with 0 mess in between. Somebody who's been anxious their entire life doesn't read one letter and become calm and collected in the space of a page. If anything, news that devastating makes anxious people more anxious, not less. Grief usually shows up as chaos first, not composure. Zenitsu skips the chaos completely and goes straight to final boss mode, and that's the part that just doesn't track for me. Compare it to how Tanjiro deals with losing people, or his rage toward Muzan. It's messy. It shows up in pieces across multiple arcs. Flashes of anger he has to physically hold back. Moments he almost breaks. Stuff that stays unresolved. That's what grief actually turning into development looks like on the page. Zenitsu's version skips every single one of those steps and just arrives at the final form. So, back to that question, is the sleep fighting reveal bad writing or just a style thing? Here's my actual take. On its own, it's a trope, fine, forgivable, shonen does it constantly. But put it next to what happens with the letter and it stops being a trope and starts being a pattern. Gotuji's solution to giving Zenitsu depth, twice now, is the exact same move. Flip the switch, skip the process, show us the result, and hope the drama distracts from the missing steps. That's not a coincidence once you see it happen twice. That's just a writing habit at that point. Fourth thing, after the letter, serious Zenitsu doesn't feel like Zenitsu grew, just swapped in a completely different character's personality and kept the same name on him. Cause here's what actually bugs me the most about this whole arc. There's no blend. A well-written personality shift keeps traces of who the person used to be, even after the change. Someone who's been anxious their whole life and finally finds some resolve usually still has flickers of that anxiety underneath. It doesn't just disappear, it gets managed or it leaks out at the worst times. That tension between old self and new self is literally what makes a transformation feel human instead of mechanical. Serious Zenitsu has basically none of coward Zenitsu's DNA in him. He doesn't stammer and push through it anyway. He doesn't have a single moment where the old fear tries creeping back in and he has to fight it down. He's just not that guy anymore, for exactly as long as the fight lasts. And the second the fight's over and the story needs comic relief again, the anxious crybaby is right back like nothing happened, like the letter's still sitting there unread. That's the actual tell for me. If this was real development, the fear wouldn't fully come back after. Something would carry over, some new steadiness, a scar, a shift in how he handles danger going forward. Instead it's coward Zenitsu, then a fully swapped in serious Zenitsu for exactly as long as the plot needs him, then straight back to coward Zenitsu, two completely different personalities in one body, with zero bridge between them. And honestly, the most annoying part of this whole thing is the ingredients for a genuinely great arc were right there. You could have spent real chapters on him slowly learning to access that courage while conscious, failing at first, getting a little further each time. The letter could have been the final push at the end of that arc instead of the entire arc getting crammed into one chapter. Instead, the interesting metaphor just sits there as flavor text, and the actual transformation gets handled through the laziest shortcut possible, a single piece of paper. So, worst written character in the show? NGL, it's close between him and maybe one or two side Hashira who barely get anything. But out of the actual main cast, the ones getting this much screen time? Yeah, it's him. Everything about Zenitsu's growth happens off-page or gets crammed into one chapter, and the show just expects you to feel years of change that never actually got shown. Curious where y'all land on this one though, because I know this is one of those takes that splits a whole room. Drop it in the comments.